Another year has passed, and with that, a slew of new movies have been released. While I didn't go to the cinemas nearly as much as I did in 2016, I still got to see some great movies that I will definitely not forget. So here are my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. Keep in mind, this list is entirely opinion-based. I judged these movies based on the amount of joy they brought me, not necessarily on their popularity or how good they are from a critical point of view. Also, some of these movies are from 2016, but I wasn't able to see them in the Dutch cinemas until 2017. Therefore, they made it into this video instead of the one about the best movies of 2016. Let's not waste any more time and start the list. Number 10. Baby Driver. Edgar Wright. Need I say more? What you can expect from an Edgar Wright movie is wonderful cinematography, awesome song selection, great actors, perfect comedic timings, and solid action sequences. Baby Driver offers just that. Personally, I do think it takes a while for the movie to truly get going. It starts off with a lot of character development, some slow sequences, and a story that doesn't seem to go anywhere. But from the second half, once the story got intense, I was hooked. What makes the character of Baby fun is not just that he is talented in what he does, but that he is an innocent person in a bad man's world. Seeing him turning up his music and just keeping calm as intense stuff happens around him is both funny as well as interesting story-wise. It makes him a sympathetic lead character. Add some funny side characters and the result is a very entertaining movie that asks you to sit back and enjoy its epicness. Number 9. A Monster Calls. When I saw the trailer, I assumed it was a movie similar to The Big Friendly Giant, but this is definitely not the case. A Monster Calls is an adult drama movie with fantasy elements about a young boy that goes through a terrible time in his life. His parents are divorced, his mother has cancer, relationship with his grandma is bad, he barely sees his father, he has no friends and is bullied in school. But then he is visited at night by a giant monster that says he'll visit the kid 3 times to tell a story, regardless if he wants to hear them or not. And by the 4th time the monster visits, the kid must tell him a story. What makes this movie so good is that it's not about building a bond with the giant. If anything, the kid wants nothing to do with him. But it's about the kid accepting the toughness life can bring. He still has the black and white view of the world like many kids have, but through the stories he learns about life and adulthood. Surprisingly, the stories the giant tells are actually very engaging, have complex lessons, even for adults, and they make you think as well. What I disliked about the movie is that about 75% has nothing to do with the monster. It's mostly a realistic story with a couple of fantasy elements blended in, but I loved the fantasy part so much I often wish the giant would show up sooner. That and the stories get seemingly shorter as he visits more often. That aside, this is still one of the most original drama fantasy stories I've seen in a while, and I consider it one of the highlights of my cinema visits in 2017. Number 8. The Leisure Seeker. The Leisure Seeker is hands down the saddest movie I've seen in 2017. The movie is about a senior couple where the husband suffers from dementia. Instead of letting him go to senior care, his wife decides to take him on one last road trip together, before his symptoms get worse. What I love so much about the movie is that it's not just a sentimental tearjerker all the way. It's not a drama where every scene consists of sad piano music and characters crying. Instead, it actually manages to bring the subject with a lot of humor. You're on the road trip with them, or laugh at some of the remarkable situations they go through.
Yeah!
Ella, what the hell are you doing on a motorcycle? They're dangerous, for God's sake.
But when the movie sits down for a serious moment, it hits bullseye. Just seeing this likable senior couple admitting they've reached the end of their lives and decide to do everything in their power to make their last road trip the best they can is very heartwarming. A powerful drama I'd definitely recommend. Number 7. It. This is how to do a remake. Learn from the mistakes of the previous adaptation and have your own vision. It focuses entirely on the first half of the miniseries, telling the story of a group of children that encounters a dangerous shape-shifting monster that feeds on the fear of his victims. What makes this movie so great is that it's a drama disguised as a horror. It's about these children, what life they have, how they form a bond, and what influence the monster has on their lives. It's them trying to stay strong as the horrifying, unnatural entity threatens their lives that creates an intense but great movie experience. I do think that the movie tries too hard in the horror aspects, over-relying on jump scares and intense music, but I was able to look past that, given I greatly enjoyed the rest of the movie. The kid actors are very impressive, there are some successful comedic moments, and the monster has a unique look and behavior that makes him good in a different way than the Tim Curry version. What else can I say but that I'm looking forward to It Part 2. Number 6. The Day Will Come. The Day Will Come is a tough drama about two kids that live in an orphanage. The orphanage, however, is a horrible place of abuse, rape, oppression, and mental torture. The policy is awful, and the pure horror these kids have to go through is hard to watch. But that is exactly why this movie is so effective. You truly feel as hopeless and scared as these kids are. But when anything even remotely goes their way, it creates a heartwarming satisfaction no other movie last year could have brought to the table. This movie has easily the most intimidating villain I've seen in 2017. Whenever he showed up, you just felt the pure fear of the children, even when he did nothing. He just has to look, and from his face you could see whatever goes through his mind. Sometimes he's in a good and forgiving mood, other times he is needlessly cruel, making you pray he'll show mercy the next time he shows up. An underrated drama that made me glad I visited the sneak previews. I should really go back to doing that, come to think of it. Number 5. Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures tells a fascinating true story about 3 black women who work at NASA around the early 60s. Because of their skin color and sex, they had a really hard time fitting in. Most of the people didn't take them seriously or weren't even prepared to give them a chance. But through sheer effort and a couple of opportunities to shine, these women have proven themselves to be a great addition to the team. It's a shame Taraji P. Henson didn't get nominated for an Oscar, because she delivers a fantastic performance as the likable genius. This movie has a nice balance between effective drama combined with a couple of good comedic moments. I found myself laughing out loud because of the sheer joy it could bring me to see one of these women standing up for themselves, or if they managed to get what they wanted. It's a story where I wanted to see these women succeed and felt great satisfaction once something went their way. It gave a nice insight to the history of NASA, and it's a story that definitely shouldn't be ignored. Number 4. Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi. Let me make one thing clear, I'm not particularly fond of the original Star Wars trilogy. Not to say they're bad or overrated, I enjoy them alright, but they just don't grab me as much as others. The new Star Wars episodes, however, I actually really get into. This comes mostly because I'm more interested in the characters this time around. Rey, Finn, Kylo, they're all interesting characters that grow through the events of Part 7 and 8. Finn was a bad guy that turns good, Kylo is a bad guy that struggles with good emotions in him, and Rey was a mystery until this chapter. I loved being around them, getting to know them and seeing how they would react to the events around them. Even Luke Skywalker has grown into a grumpy, different character than the good hero he once was, wending a direction with him I didn't expect them to. Mark Hamill delivers an outstandingly good performance, even though he admitted disagreeing with the direction they took for Luke. What I also love about The Last Jedi is that it was one of the fewer movies I've seen in recent years where a happy ending seemed unlikely. It truly felt like there was little hope, like the heroes could fail or things just didn't go their way. These flaws are what makes the characters and the war they're going through intense. There were a couple of characters that weren't well developed or plot elements that didn't work as well as others, but as a whole I greatly enjoyed The Last Jedi and I'm eager to see episode 9.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Number 3. A street cat named Bob. Of all the movies based on true events I've seen in 2017, A Street Cat Named Bob fascinated me the most. It tells the story of a junkie who was at the end of his life, desperately trying to stop drugs but failing. But what gave him hope was a stray cat, which he bonded with. He even went as far as to spend the only money he had on the vet, rather than food for himself. The bond between him and the cat is one of the most heartwarming things I've seen last year, and it reminded me of just how beautiful the bond between a human and a pet can truly be. I've seen many movies in which they use trained dogs, and those are impressive movies, but I've never seen a movie with a trained cat like this before. I'm very impressed at what they managed to pull off. The movie has a raw and real feeling, being respectful towards the true story. If you've never heard about it, I say check it out.
Light up the sky.
Number 2. Kingsman, The Golden Circle. A worthy sequel to one of my personal favorite action comedies of the last few years. The Golden Circle is easily the most spectacular movie of 2017. It has such creative, over-the-top fights that I couldn't stop laughing at how awesome it was. Kingsman gives you what you expect from a movie like this. Expensive suits, fancy cars, nice drinks, high-tech gadgets, pretty girls, spectacular action and a whole lot of comedy. This is all done with excellent cinematography, a great selection of songs that will stick in your head long after the movie's done, and a great casting choice. I was skeptical about Julianne Moore as the villain, given she didn't seem like the villain type to me. But on the contrary, her innocent and kind attitude, combined with the horrifying things she did, made for some hilarious moments. I was also skeptical about the return of Colin Firth, but I was pleasantly surprised at how cleverly they wrote him in the story. They even made a badass out of Elton John. He had some of the best moments of the movie.
Crocodile Rock, please. Fuck you!
Hey, Elton, language.
The Golden Circle may not have a complex story, no extraordinarily original plot elements, or anything to make it truly unique compared to some of the other movies last year, but in terms of sheer entertainment, it hits bullseye. For its hilarious comedy, amazing action, great characters, great songs and overall fun, Kingsman: The Golden Circle is easily one of my favorite movie experiences of 2017. And before I get to number 1, some honorable mentions. Dunkirk. A very original war movie, in that it's more an experience than it is a traditional war movie. There's no real story, nor do you really get to know the characters. That's the downside of the movie, but it's also what makes it such a raw and unique experience. Blade Runner 2049. In terms of visuals and sound, this movie is a masterpiece of an artwork in every sense of the word, but personally I have no interest in philosophical themes about what it means to be human or even care that much about the science fiction genre in general. That's why I didn't get that much into the story. A whole bunch of superhero movies. Damn 2017, this was a good year for superhero movies. There was the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2, a tragic last role of the beloved Wolverine portrayed by Hugh Jackman, a hilarious third Thor movie, and a DC movie that wasn't just the best DC movie of the last couple of years, but one of the best female superhero movies ever made. Multiple of these movies barely missed my top 10, and they definitely deserve honorable mentions. With those aside, let's get to number 1. My personal favorite movie of 2017 is Coco. Coco reminds me of why Pixar's my favorite movie company. It has the total package of what I want in an animated family movie. A good story, originality, great visuals, memorable music, comedic moments, and above all that, heart. Coco can be feel-good fun due to the energetic gypsy music and comedic characters, but it knows when to sit down and have a quiet moment as well. Moments to just let the event sink in, let the emotions do their work. What follows is a great feel-good experience with some heartwarming moments. Of all the movies I've seen in 2017, Coco felt like it came closest to the perfect movie experience. The only problem I really have is that the story is rather predictable. As soon as something is introduced, I was able to see where it was going. But it didn't bother me that much, since I really liked the characters. I wanted to see them go through these events because I cared about them and wanted to see their reaction. That aside, Coco is the best Pixar film since Inside Out, and it offered my favorite movie of 2017. So, those were my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. What were your favorites? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching!